Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior. How you going? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Just having some breakfast, so bear with me a moment or two.
Yeah, no worries. Man, this Beeloo thing has blown out of all proportion. Oh, I thought you were munching breakfast, so I was going to talk for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the kettle's on in the background. It's about to get loud, so give me 1 minute. I'll come back to you.
Okay. I woke up to a couple of different live streams from people talking about this Beeloo nonsense. Funny stuff. Very amusing. Glad I didn't endorse it fully. Yeah, so Validation Boy going through the various ins and outs of it, and Cathexis was obviously in his live stream laughing his head off about Beeloo. And I've got to admit, it is funny. Beeloo says it is convex. You gotta laugh. The theory that VB put out there was that all of the information, literally all of the information in that convex documentary was just gathered from random footage. So you've no idea what you're actually being presented with at all. You know, it could be completely fictitious. So yeah, it could be literally stock footage of lasers going across a body of anything, and then you just claim that that's a flat Earth test. Same with the surveyors. You're saying, well, they could have just taken some pictures of surveyors doing random stuff, and then cut it all together, and then had an overdub in English, and then Bob's your uncle. Farcical flat Earth proof video. I really am on my own, aren't I?
No, not really. Just the kettle's going to get loud. Or maybe it's not. Can you hear the kettle?
Not at all.
All right, okay. I got an email from Beeloo last night.
From Beeloo?
Yeah, he emailed me and said, "Don't hate him. He is real." It was a total coincidence that he spoke the same language as his infidel. But he said that he's a friendly alien, and that his best friend's Arwen. So don't hate him, he said.
Is that so? Right, it's nice of Beeloo to get in touch. You know, yeah. Good that he's coming out of the open.
I wasn't sure who it was at first. I had to ask him, could he prove who he was?
Yeah.
He didn't answer.
I mean, you and I were sort of fairly even about the documentary, so I was like, yeah, on face value it looks good, but we haven't confirmed anything, and then you picked out all the flaws in it. And for us, I think we were both in agreement. We've said, well, it's kind of too early to tell. You know, it looks all right for now, but you know there are a few problems. But we'll see. Whereas everyone else just jumped on that bandwagon, man, like flies on shit.
Well, you can't endorse anything straight away, can you? But you can't dismiss something straight away either. The Beeloo thing, I actually think satire. I don't think he was planning on or trying to make it real. I think he was actually taking the piss. Not taking the piss, but being satirical. Yeah, I think he was having fun. To be honest, I'm actually looking forward to what he says when he comes to the... Because I believe Jaren said that he's going to be on the show next week. So if he is going to be on the show next week, I'm sure there's going to be a counter-argument to be presented. I want to hear it. I want to hear what they've got to say. So I'm not going to actually dismiss it at this point. I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, but I'm not going to say it's rubbish either, therefore should be dismissed. I'm going to say, let's see what they've got to say about it, because if it turns out to be the case that Beeloo was satirical, or it was just a light-hearted way to introduce the idea of convex Earth, then that sounds totally plausible to me. If it wasn't meant to be satirical and it was meant to be a fraud, I'm sure they'll distance themselves and embarrassingly shade away from it. But don't forget, a lot of this was done in a different language and it was dubbed, so it was like, well, how are we meant to really interpret what we're seeing there? Is it a joke or is it real? It didn't look like it were real to me. It looked like it was a joke. So I'm kind of still sat on the fence with it. I'm not saying that it's dismissed instantly. I quite like Bilu. I think it was a great idea to introduce the idea of convex Earth, because if anything, it makes everybody talk, which is exactly what's happened. So it could be that this is all intentional.
Well, right on. Exactly. So all that matters is the data, the flat Earth data, and whether or not it's valid. The whys and wherefores of who before the documentary. To me, yeah, obviously you can't have somebody who's, a complete charlatan putting the information forward. It doesn't look good. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really change the information, and it is a team of people that have done it. If they've done it at all. Yeah, I don't know if you overheard me saying about Validation Boy. He's speculating that it's just literally a load of stock footage edited together, and it could be anything. We've got no validation of anything, which I agree with. We haven't. On face value, it looks good, but you just don't know what you're looking at.
But there's no difference between NASA presenting us with stuff that nobody can validate, and them guys presenting stuff with anything that we can validate. So it's comparable to NASA in that respect.
Just give me a second. I'm just going to, if you can just go quiet just for a second or two, I'm just going to shut down my desk and restart it again, just because there seems to be a bit of a problem with it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay, working again. There's just a few glitches since I've moved back over to the main channel, and over the next couple of shows I'll just have to work out a few glitches, so all good. That was quicker than I thought. Good.
My dog was retching then on the carpet that's just been hoovered and vaxxed and stuff.
Oh, wonderful.
Drag him across the carpet and make him be sick on the lino instead.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you agree that you haven't written off this documentary? Because I haven't.
No, absolutely not. I think that at the end of the day, different country, different culture, different level of evidence.
No Globe in the house.
Hey, No Globe, how you doing?
Shalom.
What on earth is all that background noise? Ah, that's better.
He's just, just need to be conscientious of the mute button, No Globe. You've got quite a lot of background noise, that's all.
No, so to answer your question, no, I'm not writing it off or publishing or pushing it, because fundamentally no one really knows. You've got a different culture, different language, different level of expected ways to present evidence. That which we criticise might be totally normal to them, and they just got the market area wrong. Who knows? But I want to hear what he says. I want to hear. No, Globe, do you want to mute, man? You are loud. Thank you. I want to hear what his counter is, because if it was satire and it was meant to be light-hearted and it was meant to be a way to get the idea forward, who cares? Bilu then becomes a cult. It becomes a cult member. And I quite like the name Bilu anyway. I think it's funny. But the question for me is, all the Globers that are laughing at Bilu, sure, you can laugh at Bilu, but can somebody tell me how it's any different to the Starman floating around in a Tesla Roadster?
Well, unless he's actually punting it. The guy might actually be punting it as real. So if the guy is, for all we know, that was why he was locked up. I doubt it, but we just don't know, like you say. So if he's punting that as real, then they're equal. In other words, if he's saying, look, Bilu's real, this is an alien in a bush, just believe it, it's on TV, then that's no different to Starman. Starman saying exactly the same thing. However, if it is satire, if it is him having a laugh, and, Arwen summed it up nicely, it's like, well, they are much more into that kind of alien culture. It's a lot more prevalent on their TVs. Therefore, that kind of aside is just going to be presumably just taken as normal on their TV screens, whereas here it's like, well, that's outrageous.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed was that, thank you. The other thing I noticed was that, bearing in mind how much we get criticised if we don't publish temperatures and pressure and all that nonsense, right? But the ballers don't even do it themselves. But when he presented his evidence to support his assertions, he was missing key important pieces of information. He was missing things like elevations, accurate elevations, or even like guesstimated elevations. He was missing that. He was missing the actual distances on half of the things that he reported. And the only reference that he made frequently to was the amount of bulge in between. But he never gave us the maths or the evidence to show the actual distance, the numbers that were crunched that went into that. He didn't give us any of that information on most occasions. There was one occasion where he did, but most occasions he didn't. And there was one occasion where he said that he was at 14 kilometers, but he was actually at 1.4 kilometers, according to the ballers. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. That's what I've heard. But let's say that was the case, that he was at 1.4. That's one of those mistakes that really you can't make. Saying that you're in the Straits of Gibraltar when you're actually in the Mediterranean Sea. Again, one of those mistakes that you can't really make. If you get your geography wrong, it kind of discredits your credibility on the ground on that basis. And the other thing that he said that I wasn't cool with was that a 3-story building was 22 feet tall. I'm like, no, that's just not right. 3-story buildings are at least 28 to 32 feet, something like that, because they're about 10 feet of floor. So getting them basics wrong, even if it was all genuine, legit, and kosher, and it was meant in the best of ways, it's still quite scruffy. But again, it's no different to Starman. You guys get stuff that you believe and accept, but that's incapable of being validated in exactly the same way that we can. We look at your work like Starman, and we laugh at it the way that you're laughing at this. We look at the shadows, we look at this, that, and the other to do with Starman, and we're seeing the exact same language, but now it's the other way around. The shoe's on the other foot. On this occasion, you guys have just got our version of Starman. Well, that's okay. You can have our version of Starman. We don't mind you having that, because we can't say that it's not. But neither can you prove that Starman's real. So who cares?
Don't panic.
Yeah.
You know, like in the words of Elon Musk, it has to be real because it looks so fake.
Yes, that's what was resonating through my mind when I was watching it. You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. Well, let's apply the same dictum and then say to them, how is it any different? You can tell that alien is real because it looks so fake. How is it any different?
Yeah, but we don't actually believe it's real. That's the main difference. We understand entirely that Beelu nonsense is nonsense, whereas the Starman thing is not for everybody, but for the most part, they accept that Starman is real.
We're talking about the alien in the bush, right?
Yeah, the alien in the bush is not accepted as real.
Buster's trying to recant some stuff, damage control.
Yeah, but we wouldn't. None of us would say that was something real, whereas Starman absolutely would be classed as something that's actually going on right now in their world. They think it is real.
Nathan, how do you distinguish between Santa and you know Santa's not real, right? You know that, but how do you distinguish Santa from Starman? Because the only difference is a forethought. Your previous knowledge knows that Santa's not real. But if you didn't know that Santa wasn't real, you would absolutely believe it, because there is more than enough abundance of evidence, preponderance of evidence to prove that Santa is a bloke floating around on a reindeer-charged sleigh. You can see him flying over New York. What's the difference between knowing something's fake and believing something's real?
Yeah, forethought. You've summed it up already.
There you go. So Beelu could just be as equally as real or as fake as you want it to be based on your forethought. And if,
Beelu is
your
definitely real.
Is in favour of it, you'll believe it.
No, I don't think so.
Well, put it this way: if they accept Starman, or if they ever mention Starman in any kind of way, because they all had these icons at some point. Miles Delia Davis, he had a Starman for a while. And then all the flat earthers started putting their superimposed pictures on the Starman. That was great as well. But ultimately, these guys have got to accept that Starman's real in the same way that they expect us to accept that Beelu's real. But ultimately, who cares? You guys have got Starman. That's worse than Beelu, in my opinion, because I don't think Beelu was ever meant to be real. I think it was satire.
Exactly. So, well, even if it wasn't satire, I have discernment, so I can discern that it's not real. You know, the same applies with the original documentary. You looked at it and went, yeah, on face value it's right, here's the mistakes, we'll see how it pans out. Well, that's having, you know, at least to a certain degree, and you okay? That's having discernment. Well, no one who's accepting Starman has looked at it with any kind of discernment whatsoever. They just accept it.
I tell you what was interesting last night. I don't know if you saw it in the Masturbators chat on Skype, but Arwin was pushing that you couldn't rule out that Belu was not real because you can't prove that he's not real. And so he was saying, yeah, but we can use our own discernment to work it out. It's not that difficult. But Arwin was like, no, you can't prove that it's not real. And I was like, Arwin, you can work it out. It's not difficult. But the point he was making was that how can you prove that it's not real? It's there. So if you're accepting that Starman is real, you've got to at least accept that Belu is real unless you can prove that it's not. And when you take it...
Nice twist. Nice twist. Oh, right. So we can't disprove Starman. It's obviously way too expensive. Well, it's obviously way too supernatural, and, you know, that alien was only there for that one encounter, so you disprove it.
Yeah, exactly. What he was saying is you cannot disprove that Belu was not real any more than we can prove that it was. So therefore, it's 50-50, not 100% one way. And he's right. You can't disprove that Belu is not real. You have to accept that there is the small slither of possibility that it might have been real. Because you can't.
We need to make this clear now, though. I absolutely do not believe that Belu is real, and we're not saying that he is. We're just saying that as you compare and contrast Starman with Belu, you're left with exactly the same conclusions to be drawn. Now, Starman's automatically accepted. For us, at least, Belu's been immediately rejected. So therein lies the difference.
Yeah, me and Belu go way back, you know.
We'll have to distinguish our sarcasm a bit better, I think, because some of it's going to be this is going to be taken out of context at some point, even though we're chuckling.
Well, ultimately, it doesn't make any difference. If they challenge us on it, we can justify it by saying how different is it to Starman, because you guys can't prove Starman's any more real than we can prove that Belu is not real, or you for that matter either.
Well, Starman's in space, so.
Well, so is Belu now. He's gone. Obviously, he's not here anymore. He's gone back to space, hasn't he?
Oh.
I just think it's fortunate that he was lucky enough to be able to speak the same language.
Have you not seen Hitchhikers?
These supposed aliens that are visiting us are not visiting us from somewhere else. They belong from the Earth. They've been here for thousands and thousands of years, you know. Some people call them demons, some people call them ghosts, apparitions. Nonetheless, they're here to deceive. That's for sure.
It was interesting that Patricia looked up what Belu actually means, and it was something to do with Israel. I don't know whether it was to do with the forced occupation or the creation of Israel, but there was a connection to do with Israel, and that was interesting as well. It was like, do they call these things by... Well, then again, that being said, if you look at the word Nathan, or if you look at the word Mark, John, Stephen, they've all mean something. So maybe it doesn't mean anything, but it was just interesting that there was a connection to Israel. Scott Veach says these guys totally believe Starman more than Belu. Why are they lying? Yeah, I think, to be honest, I believe Belu more than Starman, to be honest, Scott Veach. At least we can prove something with Belu. What can you prove with Starman? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Where's Arwen?
Yeah,
I can tell you where Arwen is. In Bobo's. He's in Bobo's dreaming about Belu.
He's gonna get on now. Watch.
Yeah, Arwen's very much wrong. To be honest, Arwen's view on Belu is very different to most people's, because with them being in a different country and the way their country is about like things that we don't consider to be credible or whatever, they do have a different view on UFOs and the like. They are more pro UFO in his country than what anybody else is. So he was not as staunch against it initially, although he does kind of understand that it isn't real. But his point was valid. You can't prove that it's not real any more than anybody can prove that Starman is real or not real. So his point's valid, even though his argument is ridiculous. It is a valid point.
Can't we just use a telescope to see him?
Come on, up here. Now sit down. So, now that Beelu's on done and dusted, let's get back to the evidence of the shape of the Earth then. I'm going to mention, what's his face? Nick with no L. Nick's got it in his head that the Et-Vos effect proves that the Earth is spinning. Nick doesn't understand or accept that there is a scientific, calculable, credible, researchable, independently verifiable counter to that, which is he's been given, and he just simply refuses to accept that it's there. The Et-Vos effect is the effect on centrifugal force, the effect of centrifugal force on an object when it travels east to west or west to east. Now, basically, if you're traveling with the spin of the Earth, you will increase the amount of centrifugal force, therefore you will appear to be lighter. But if you're traveling against the spin of the Earth, you will reduce the centrifugal force and you will appear to be heavier when you're traveling left to right or right to left. And I see Nick in chat now. Nick, why aren't you on the panel? There is an open link. You can join. You can tell me how wrong I am, and you can tell me how stupid I am. But you won't come on because you're a keyboard warrior, otherwise known as a troll. Anyway, so the science tells us that the Et-Vos effect, or rather Nick L tells us that the Et-Vos effect is proof that the Earth is spinning. However, Nick refuses to accept that there is something called the Birkeland current, which directly affects that experiment. And unless you isolate the object that you are testing against the effects of the Birkeland currents, then your results are null. They're void because they are not isolating the one variable that you are testing for. You have to isolate that. Nick simply refuses to accept that there is an alternative explanation for that which he claims is the rotation of the Earth. He refuses it. He's a science denier, and he simply ignores that fact. And I find that simply repulsive, given that he is some kind of scientist. He doesn't want to accept that there is an alternative explanation for it.
He's just at university.
Pardon?
He's not a scientist.
Yeah, well, that's what he claims. He claims he's some kind of scientist. So if he is, he refuses to accept the Birkeland currents directly affect that result. And because that result is now questionable, it has to be dismissed until the control is put in place to show that the one thing that is being tested is the only thing that's being resulted. Nick with Noel, you're a fantasist. You're a science denier, and you have no science to support the Et-Vos effect proving the rotation of the Earth. Stop preaching it. It's nonsense.
Pseudoscience
Nick with Noel, you're a gnome.
Yeah, and he puts, you have not provided any evidence for the Birkeland currents explaining it. I only need to tell you the Birkeland currents are an issue, and that is the counter for it, Nick. So look into the Birkeland currents. They are well known, they are well documented, and they directly affect that experiment. Tell me
This
how
message brought to you by Sleeping Warrior.
Pardon?
No, I'm saying it's awesome. I agree with you.
Yeah. So tell me how electromagnetism affects chargeless particles, please. It pushes the charge around the neutral particle. It forces a disequilibrium. That is the effect. It's a negative effect, Nick. So what's your problem? Get on the panel and tell me how wrong I am. You've got the link. Why are you sat in chat keyboard worrying like Paul Voigt and all those Burks? Join the panel.
Nick, get on, Nick.
Yeah, come on, Nick. Gobshite.
Nick with no L.
Yeah, Nick with Noel. Do you know he changed his name because he was being bullied by Pete Shea, one of the most harmless people. It's like being bullied by Arwen. So ultimately, he changed his name because Pete Shea was bullying him. How ridiculous!
So what happened to Supreme Hyena? The name just gets better and better.
Yeah. He was in Validation Boys chat yesterday, having a good laugh about Beelu.
Do you know, the good thing about Beelu is nobody in Flat Earth suffers. Nobody suffers any loss whatsoever, not even Globe Busters. Bob, damned if he does and damned if he doesn't in that situation, because if if he didn't retract it straight away, he'd have been criticised by the ballers for, and they'd have said, Why didn't he just recant it straight away? Why didn't he just apologise and say he got it wrong? But if he does that, then they're unhappy that he supported it in the first place. So they move the goalposts. So whatever Bob does there, he is wrong. He is going to get criticised, and he's not going to get away with it. So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't.
He was a nice guy. He's actually pretty cool.
Riley, quote, "He who asserts must prove, unless it's me asserting." No, you're the one that's asserting that the atmospheric effect proves the Earth is spinning. I'm the one that's saying it doesn't, because there are other things that affect your experiments unless you isolate it. And don't forget, the only evidence that you've got so far is Paul, what's his name? The Australian guy, pilot guy. Come on, Nathan, what's his name? That Australian guy.
Pilot?
Yeah, the Australian pilot guy.
Hey,
Mark Sargent?
Wolfie?
Wolfie. Yeah,
Wolfie
you've only got
7020.
Wolfie. You've got Wolfie, 6020, I think his name is, and he's got a metallic. I think it's gold or brass or something. He's got some shiny metal. Obviously, metal itself is subject, and he's on a plane. Now, there's an issue with him being on the plane in the first place, called detachment from Earth. If you're going to measure the rotation of the Earth, you at least need to be on the Earth to be able to do it. But ultimately, he's got a metal weight, which supports the idea that the Birkeland currents directly affect that which you're trying to measure. And if you fail to isolate the effects of the Birkeland currents, what do you know? You've got an external influence that's altering the results. So stop talking nonsense, Nick, with Noel.
Yeah, so, I mean, the evidence is in the water, guys. I mean, water just seeks its level, doesn't curve. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
No Globe.
Gravity can't be so selective. Was that?
Did you watch No Globe? Did you watch Beyond the Imaginary Curve last night with Dell?
No, I didn't. The last video I saw was them trying to like do some damage control, something about this guy's behind some alien video, and he thinks he's like a psychic or something like that. I don't know what was going on, to be honest with you.
Nathan, how do you know that Ranty's working? I haven't heard from Ranty in a week, almost.
I keep telling you, he was on the show a couple of days ago.
Pardon?
I think it was number 81, 2 shows ago. 181, I should say. He was on and he just said, "Yeah, I've been working. I've got this, that, and the other job on, and blah blah blah." So he's just working.
Yeah. To be honest, I did speak to him last night, but he was really quick because he'd just finished work. He got in bed and I messaged him and I said, "Are you actually still alive?" And he rang and he just said, "I am," but he said, "I've got like a couple of busy days on the next couple of days." He said, "I've just not got a chance to get on," and he didn't even know about Belu. I had to give him a quick Belu update.
What was his reaction?
He was gobsmacked that this Belu thing even existed. He found it hilarious, and I said, "Yeah, but it really is a thing. Go and have a look."
We were very much not at cross purposes with Ranty, but he was very much an advocate and all excited about this convex documentary. I said it stunk of controlled opposition, and Anthony was quite neutral. After the documentary, I was actually more neutral than sceptical, and Anthony became more sceptical, so we kind of swapped over. But Ranty was still very much in favour of it. So while Anthony was being sceptical about it, that caused a couple of issues because Ranty was obviously very keen. But that's why I was interested to see what his reaction was to Belu.
Well, Ranty rage quitted on me because I pointed out the two obvious mistakes. I've only watched it the once, but the two things that I noticed straight away that were wrong was the reference to being in the Straits of Gibraltar when they were actually in the Mediterranean Sea, because they were not at the south coast of Spain, they were at the south coast of France. Now, local geography is one thing, but getting it wrong on a continental level is it's wrong. So I noticed that, and that wasn't really massive in itself, but when you add it to the fact that they got the elevation, or the 3-story house quoted at 22 feet or so, that also was wrong. And them two things made me question the credibility of the facts.
I don't know
but
about that.
Randy-
I mean, I saw Flat Earth Genius, I think he's called, in one of the comments, and he made a comment about that particular aspect of it. And he said, well, when they've said 3 stories, it's just to give you a visual idea. You know, they're not actually quoting that as the specific height. It's just to give you a, so you can visualize it. Then, as soon as I read that, I thought, well, yeah, but if we had exact measurements for everything, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, but what they should have done to give you an accurate representation of what they were looking at was called it a 2-story building, because that would have been about 22 feet. So calling it 3-story building is at least exaggeration or recklessness or carelessness. But either way, it's a negative. And if I'd have made that mistake, all the ballers would have dismissed the whole, whatever the video was. The rest of the video would have been dismissed on that basis, that you've made one mistake of fact that was enough for them to question the whole video and dismiss it. That's what would have happened. So them 2 things together, though, in my interpretation, made me question the integrity of the basics of the facts. And because, well, basically, Ranty didn't agree with me, he rage quitted. Off he went, and apart from last night for a couple of minutes, I hadn't spoke to him since, so I thought he took offence. But apparently not. He was just really busy. So
I mean, the
I was being a little bit oversensitive.
They'll make up a random straw man if they can't find flaw. You know, they'll pick on Google Earth and say, well, Google Earth's inaccurate, therefore your whole argument falls to pieces. You know, they'll discount it on anything. Build a straw man if they haven't got anything.
Yeah, and just to correct the record for future references, I can see a couple of references there to the 52 feet, 35 feet. The 35 feet claim on the Google Earth video that I did, 35 feet turned out to be, what was it, Nath? What was the lower elevation turned out to be?
I can't remember, 50 something.
I think it was about 50. Yeah, I think it was low 50s. And the 52 feet claim turned out to be 80 something. And then when you make the adjustment,
higher than that. So at the low tide value, so I've just got to be brutal honest, it was me that measured the higher one. So if you take the absolute extreme and add your tripod onto the highest value, it's 115 feet. That's
that was the absolute highest it could ever possibly be with the lowest of low tide.
Yeah, that's taking 30 feet off for the tide, which it isn't. You know, it's less than that, but that's pushing it to the extreme. So I pushed it up to being, you know, not generous in the slightest towards flat Earth, just trying to be accurate basically, but with the data. So in other words, I can say, well, the reason I've added 30 feet on for the tide is because here it says that the maximum low tide it can be is 30 feet on top of the value I gave. So I got it to 110, and then I think Rumpus immediately added on another 5 feet for a tripod, and it's like, well, fair enough, so 115. And I think at that point everyone can see.
Can I just correct one word in which you said there? You said that we were trying to be more accurate. We weren't. What we were trying to do was give it in its worst case scenario, which was the best case scenario if you're a baller. That's not being accurate. That's being biased in favour of a ball.
Well, it's not. It is and it isn't. I mean, you're taking the values that are reported. So after that, the thing that we did next, or Chris and I did, was spend a good, several hours going through the tide data and calculating it accurately. So I'm just saying, when I say accurate, I mean referenceable. So anyway, yeah, my point was that, you know, you can take things like this and say, well, once you run a tape measure down this particular point of a cliff, you can get a different measurement to Google Earth, which is what you've quoted. Therefore, your entire argument falls to pieces. Like, no, not at all. But it was interesting to see it happened without the actual claim being addressed, as it was on Steve's show. So literally, they spent half an hour debunking Google and then claimed that your observation was invalid based on the fact that Google's elevations were wrong, and they were happy to discount the rest of it on that without literally addressing the actual issue at all. You're right, No Globe.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm just making a quick brew.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm just cooking something right quick.
Alright, well, it's probably a reasonable enough opportunity for me to do a quick link for about half an hour into this show. So if you're new to the channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live, and a link in the info box below the video once it has rendered. But most importantly, if you'd like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll you'll be ejected. If you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as this increases the live audience, but that in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. There is around an hour and a half left on this live stream.
Shout out to Tuft of Trees. Shout out.
We've got Tuft of Trees in the chat. I don't see Tuft of Trees.
Tuft of Trees. I love it. I love it. That's the best troll ever.
Well, you met him. You were talking to him the other day, weren't you? Tim Osman was on the show.
Oh, that was Tuft of Trees?
Yeah. We literally discussed it while you were on the panel.
Oh, yeah, I didn't remember. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we commended him for his top quality trolling. You other trolls out there need to take note. That's how you troll. Hello, Ruhif. Good to have you.
It is Ruhif. Welcome, sir.
Hello, cupcakes.
Hello, Snowflake.
Nice.
Thought I'd help you out tonight.
When's the ISS going overhead?
Oh, but he has popcorn, I think.
When does the
I do,
ISS go
literally
overhead,
have popcorn.
Ruhif?
Literally have popcorn.
Nice.
Yep, running out.
Have you done your ISS transit yet?
No, that's tonight. I've actually set up a bed. I've set up a bed in the study, so I don't wake everyone up at like 2:30 in the morning.
Where are you actually
tonight.
taking it from? Where's the location that you're going to take it from? Just outside, literally on your front lawn or something?
Manly. No, it's about, I don't know, 5-10 k's from here. It's a place Manly, just north of Sydney. Like
Manly?
Manly place.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
I'll bring up
so it's a
the
proper
transit
jaunt then, it's
thing.
not just stick it out your window. Excellent.
Oh, it's not that far away, like 10-15 minutes. Where is it? Transit Finder.
So I'm looking forward to comparing and contrasting your transit of the moon with Red's Rhetoric's one, because you've both got the same camera, and you should both get the same results. Forget about the angle, but you should both get the same results, and I'm going to be really interested to see how that one works.
Wait, what do you mean the same results? Like what result? Like that we see it? Or what's the...
No, have you seen Red's Rhetoric's transit of the moon?
Yeah, he had him and someone Astronomy Live. Is that it?
I don't know.
Did I get oh no, there we go. Still.
But we should see.
He had someone else. He had someone else about 1 kilometre away, still in the I don't know path, and I think they triangulated the distance to the ISS using those two observations at the same time.
Oh, really? They triangulated the distance to the ISS using them. That's really so. Basically, we should expect that you're going to stick it on moon mode on the camera, right? That's what Reds did.
I don't know if there's a moon mode. I'll figure it out tonight.
You know the dial on the top.
Yeah.
One of the modes of that dial is moon mode. It's got a picture of a moon on it, and that he says that
I don't have a moon. I've got a nighttime photo thing. Hold on.
Oh, you got a Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
No. Got it from a retailer here, so not an eBay job.
I was just joking.
Well, yeah, he was joking. But
maybe that ISS is made by Taiwan. Maybe the holographic, whatever we're going to see, right? Transit.
You should have a button on the top. One of the modes on the circle dial on the top.
Yeah, there's a night one. So it's like a person with a star in the background. Oh no, there's a moon. There we go. I got you.
Yeah. So all Reds did was he put it onto moon mode, and then he didn't change any other settings. He says. So you should get comparable, and not contrastable evidence. So forget about the angle.
No, what zoom value do you use? Like I would assume he would zoom in so the moon fills the viewfinder, right?
Yeah, it fills the viewfinder, but then take a little bit off because he wanted to. Don't fill it all completely. Just make it a little bit smaller so that.
But what's the result you're talking about though? Like what are we meant to compare to find something similar? Well,
just the general composition of what you produce. Because I mean, I'll I'll be honest with you. Nobody considers, well, not many people that I've spoke to, considers Reds to be. Bloody hell, here he is. Nobody considers Red's video to be. It's too perfect. That's the way I would describe it.
Okay. Anyway, I'll try and film my location and show me pointing the camera up at the sky and that sort of stuff. I don't know.
Ramsey, is that?
It is, yeah.
Hey, welcome back, champ.
I didn't know if it was really you or a sock.
I've got my own sock now, have I?
Yeah, of course.
Oops, hang on.
I've got to agree with you with Red's footage. It just looked too good. I mean, the best thing I'd seen prior to that was Chris D. Take Back Space TV. Check out his YouTube channel, fantastic moon observations with a really good telescope, a really good mount. He's got all the equipment to do it really well, and his capture just wasn't anywhere near as good. So
I don't have a mount. Like, I've just got a plain tripod, so I'm going to track it manually.
Sure. I
You don't
mean,
need a mount.
Take Back Space TV is doing it with a proper telescope, though. He's tracking it on an equatorial mount, and he's just got, in terms of how he's controlling it, he's just got it down pegged in terms of his muscle memory. And
Someone's got background. Who's got background noise?
Yeah, it's no globe. Step on me,
Come on,
no globe.
Cam.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
better.
Yeah, so it's one of those. That's the best I'd seen to date, and Reds was better with far inferior equipment. So that didn't really make much sense to me. But maybe he's just luck of the Irish. He just happened to get a really good clear image and tracked it really well. Whereas Take Back Space TV was trying to track it through the night sky as opposed to across the moon. So they're not exactly the same, but still, Reds was miles better with inferior equipment, which kind of puzzled me a little bit.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
take his with a P900, because I think Astronomy Live did not use a P900. He had like his full telescope with equatorial mount and everything.
Oh, okay.
right, listen to what I said. Listen to me. Reds put it on all these. I emailed Reds and asked him what settings did he use on his camera, thinking that he'd have gone in with like specific ones, and he didn't. He put it onto moon mode, and that was it. Now I know what the camera's like at night time, and it's crap. Now even on moon mode, yeah, you do get a nice moon, but I wouldn't expect it to be able to pick out the ISS. Now what he picked out, either in my opinion, was too good for that camera, or it's not the ISS as in the big thing that's floating around in space that you guys worship. For me, that was proof that it wasn't real. For him, it was proof that it was. But
Well,
whatever
see.
went on,
We'll have a comparison hopefully tomorrow if Ruhif is kind enough to show us what he gets. Hopefully we'll
The
get a
weather did
comparison.
clear this afternoon, so it's looking all right.
Cool,
They don't
excellent,
worship the ISS. They worship Helios.
correct.
No, they worship Starman as well.
Sorry, that's what piqued my curiosity earlier. Talking about Starman versus Santa and that sort of stuff.
No. We were talking about Starman versus
Billy?
Bilu. Did you miss
That's
that
right,
bit?
Stone Billow. No, I heard it. And it got me thinking about sort of what background information we both have and how that differs. So from my perspective, I'm obviously believe that they do launch rockets, they do launch satellites, that sort of thing. Without calling Elon Musk a liar, I accept his explanation. He needed some sort of payload, so he thought he'd put the most gimmicky payload on. That's all that background stuff is entirely plausible to me, whereas I imagine it's not plausible to you guys, that rockets and satellites and whatever.
Yeah, but conversely, the background to Bilu is entirely plausible to me. He's in a foreign country where they've got a pro-UFO background, and he just happens to find a UFO in his bush. That's totally plausible to me.
Sorry, to you or to
the
them?
experiment is made that there is no propulsions in the vacuum. You can't propel in the vacuum.
Yeah, I think someone came on the other day and said, "No, Globe, you're a bit of a noob." I think I agree with that person, whoever it was.
Why are you
Probably Tim Osmond.
The Bilu thing, anyway? Why does that discredit him?
Why does what?
Sorry.
Why does this Bilu footage and spoof thing? Why is everyone claiming that then that discredits the observations that were taken?
Because Bilu told them to take the observations. It was Bilu's idea, Ranty.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
I think it was a joke. I seriously think it was a joke. No.
Maybe,
I
maybe
think,
not.
I think when it comes out in the wash, I think when it comes out, you cannot say that all the work that they put into it can be discredited simply because they put a spoof out before they started the observations.
But what work? We haven't validated any of it, Ranty. We haven't double checked it. We haven't validated it yet. So you say all the work. Well, what if it transpired that they'd literally just gone and filmed some random surveyors and then took some stock footage of lasers? What would you say then?
It's the guys.
I mean, I thought they were going to release the evidence, that the data that they'd gathered.
Yeah,
and maybe they will.
Gonna do. Let's be clear, Nathan. He's not saying that. What Ranty's saying is, you can't dismiss it based on the alien itself, and I do agree with him.
I agree.
I
agreed with you. I said that earlier. I said I haven't written this off. You know, this needs some looking into. I'm glad that Jaren's now saying, yeah, we want to discuss it with them. That's the right thing to do.
It's the same thing with me. I mean, when I first started, I did the chemtrail stuff. Then I hooked into this Nibiru, and I put a couple of videos up about Nibiru on my old channel. People haven't let that drop, right? Which is fine, but that was just an evolution of my journey to flat Earth. Now, I'm not going to run away and say that I didn't put a video up about Nibiru. I did, right? But that doesn't mean that you can discredit what I do now, the footage that I put out now.
I made a little comment about this a few weeks ago, probably not on this channel. But I basically, I feel justified in dismissing a flat earther's opinion on anything. And let me just explain why. With it.
No, let him explain. Let him explain. No laughing.
Yeah. I see it as a shortcut to someone's critical thinking abilities and general, I don't want to say intelligence because that's insulting, but, you know, their ability to critically evaluate evidence. So when, who was it?
Don't even start us on this one. You can rip
it was in
come on, let's hear it out. Let's hear him out.
creationist,
I just want to hear, let him get to the end. I just want to hear the end of this statement.
Yeah, it was in the context of a creationist conversation. So, like, you know, no evolution, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was, I forget his name, but he come, you know, trying to lecture me about genetics. And I said, dude, you're a flat earther. I'm not even going to listen to what you say. It's a shortcut for me, in that I'm not going to investigate someone's claim who, based on his views,
hold on. Just let him get to the end. God's sake.
Oh, no, that basically is the end. It's a shortcut for me. I realize that you might say it's a logical fallacy.
Right, let me ask you 3 questions.
Yeah.
And I'm focusing entirely on the bit where you said it's a shortcut.
Thinking.
The critical thinking bit. It's a shortcut to not having critical thinking. Why?
No, it's a shortcut to not have to investigate someone's claims.
Yeah, but the critical thinking bit. Just say them words that you said again.
It's a shortcut for me. If someone makes a claim and that person has demonstrably shown that they are unable to critically evaluate evidence, I don't accept or reject their claim. I just discard it.
Okay, so critically analysing evidence, that's the bit I want to focus on. What makes you think that any flat earther or ball earther is capable of that standard being applied against them? Because what I mean is, let me rephrase it. Ballers can't critically analyse their own evidence. They can't do it, in my experience. Flat earthers do. That's why when me and Nathan disagree, we don't call each other morons and shills. We just disagree. It's also the reason why Ranty Rage quits, because we're not doing what you guys do. We're not doing what you guys do and just accept everything that's presented to them. We do critically analyse stuff, right? So what, with regards to Starman, where's the critical thought on that?
All the precursors to coming to that conclusion. They're going.
Can you mute Anthony? You're causing a bit of feedback.
Oh, wow, sorry. Hang on.
All the precursors to putting Starman into space are entirely
maybe it's Ranty. Sorry to interrupt again, Ruhif. Can you mute Ranty? I think it might be you.
Me? I won't have any feedback.
Well, there's only 2 of you talking, and we've still got feedback, and I'm on mute. So
there we go. All right. All the precursors to accepting Starman is in space are entirely plausible in my perspective, and I realize that they're not in your perspective.
No.
So when someone says, "Do you believe?"
It's the other way around. It's the other way around. Just because something's plausible doesn't make it probable.
No, but I've no reason to doubt. Like if someone says, "Do you 100% believe that Starman is in space?" I'll go, "No." But if someone wants to make a real issue out of it, I'll look into it.
Have you looked into it critically?
No.
That's the point.
Why not?
I think that's the point he's making. Because it's
Yeah,
an assertion that's
on the
come from
balance that
Flat
it's-
Earth. So Flat Earthers say Starman isn't real. Therefore that, according to Ruhif, can be automatically discounted and not even investigated because it's come from a Flat Earther.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've looked at like a couple of minutes of a couple of videos of flat earthers, trying to poke holes in Starman, and none of them swayed me at all.
Really?
So
What
you're
about?
watching
So there was
too.
one I saw where they had various different aspects of it shown in terms of how the background would flicker and the foreground wouldn't, proving that it's not a camera anomaly but a layer anomaly.
Yeah, I didn't find any of them convincing. I watched 4 or 5. I know they
fair
weren't
enough.
long.
Then you can't critically analyze anything.
If someone had some really good evidence,
Right,
then yeah.
that is really good evidence, Ruhif,
I really don't think it was.
because you're blinded by science. You are the example that you are giving for yourself, but as flat earthers.
Preacher, brother.
Say it again, Anthony.
You are the example that you are giving, but saying that that's the reason that you don't accept the views of flat earthers, but you are that person that you're describing.
Called projection.
No, I realize there's subjectivity to it. Absolutely. Subjectively, me thinks that flat earthers cannot critically evaluate evidence.
But you are doing the exact thing that you're critical of us. You're doing it by accepting Starman, basically without critically thinking about it.
I provisionally accept Starman. Like I said, if you push me to say prove it,
No,
I
Anthony,
don't know.
Anthony.
It was
Anthony,
too. Hang on. It was
no,
too,
listen, Anthony. Whoa. No, what he did was he watched a couple of minutes of a couple of videos and then dismissed all the Starman knockers that were saying that this is rubbish. That's what he did. That's his critical analysis. He watched a couple of videos for a couple of minutes. He said it himself.
it was two-parted. My point.
This is his level of research. This is what you're dealing with.
Just let me finish. Let me finish. My attack there was two-pronged. It was accepting Starman and not critically thinking about it. Not just accepting Starman. It's the failure It was the failure to critically analyze it. That's my point.
I provisionally accept it and only did a modicum of research into the opposing side.
The second part, Ruhif.
Yeah.
You provisionally accepted it without critically thinking about it.
Yeah, and if someone made a big deal out of it,
Right,
or if it
but you've
came big to
criticised
me,
flat earthers. You've just criticised flat earthers for their ability to not critically analyse stuff, but you've done it yourself.
yeah, but on something that's not important to
What do
me.
you mean, yeah, but? What do you mean, yeah, but?
He's just said it's not important to him.
Starman is not important to me. That sort of determines how much time I spend on it.
But you've provisionally accepted it without critically analysing it. The exact criticism you give of flat earthers.
Yeah, but you guys claim to have examined the shizen out of.
What do you mean, yeah, but? There is no yeah, but. You should be saying, oh shit, yeah.
He has got you there, Ruhif. You've literally admitted to looking at Starman and accepting it without any critical thought whatsoever, which is exactly what you've just levelled at Flat Earthers.
I provisionally accept it.
Right,
You
that's
guys
the point.
without
That's
critical
exactly
thought.
the point.
Rue,
You guys claim to have
second part that
investigated
you're
flat
missing.
Earth for years, right?
Rue, it's the second part you're missing. You provisionally accepted it without critical thought. But that's the criticism you're aiming at us.
I wouldn't care.
No, but it's the lack of critical thought that you've criticised us for, that you've committed yourself.
That's the point. Saying you don't care, that is literally a really vivid demonstration of lack of critical thought. Saying, well, I didn't care. It's like, yeah,
No,
that's the
forget
point.
Starman. Forget Starman. It's not about Starman. It's about the critical thought aspect of it. So you've provisionally accepted it without critical thought. But you've criticised flat earthers for the exact same thing.
No, but you've got to realise the importance of one thing versus another.
There is no
Did
but.
I have Cocoa Pops for breakfast?
No. There is no but. You've
Yes,
done
there
the
is.
exact thing that you criticise us for.
You guys claim to have investigated flat Earth for years, right?
Oh, we're going to get back to this. You can't really use this how long we've been looking at it for, Ruhif. Otherwise, I'll start asking you for scientific proof of Earth curve. Because you've had 2,000 years, right? 2,000 years to prove it.
And it has been proved to my satisfaction.
To your satisfaction.
Yeah, obviously not to yours, because you're a denialist.
Well, no, to science. There's no proof that follows the scientific method to prove that the Earth is curved. None.
Yeah,
Zero.
I don't want to rehash the other day.
Well, no, that's all right. I don't mind rehashing it. What you want to do is basically focus on my understanding of the scientific method, rather than actually just going out and getting a scientific proof of Earth curve. You'll just dance around our definitions of the scientific method, rather than just going, of course, man, 2,000 years, there's loads of it. What are you talking about? It's obvious the Earth's a sphere. There's just shitloads of evidence. Here you go. Turn after turn after turn, paper after paper, all adhering to the scientific method. And you just don't have it.
The Rochester University paper that you posted the other day was much closer to my version of the scientific method than yours.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was about coming up with hypotheses and testing those hypotheses against the observations.
Ruth, what do you think you'll...
two models.
If you get on a rocket, what do you think you'll see if you get on a rocket going towards space? What do you think is going to happen?
What do I see a globe or a flat Earth? Is that the serious question?
Do you think we're going to get high enough to see anything at all?
Yes.
Right.
Well then, we haven't seen that because everything cuts to CGI afterwards.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Real world evidence shouldn't be comprised of CGI. It should be just footage, you know?
Can I just point out Ruiff's response there when he said, we haven't seen that because everything cuts to CGI. And Ruiff's response was, yeah, well, whatever. That is another example.
Whatever.
That is another example of you failing to critically think about that which you're presented to be true. Yet that is the same accusation you're criticising us of.
No, I've seen plenty of those videos where they the footage of the ISS inside the ISS, and there's guys going, oh, you can see the ropes where they've like not properly photoshopped out the ropes, and he's grabbing one of the guy wires or something, and it's just crap. Like, it really is crap.
Yeah, you're right. It is just crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what am I referring to being it?
Yeah. I get you, Anthony. I get it.
Okay, well, at least you're with me on that one.
I don't know. We haven't gone back to the moon because they just were to
Nathan?
Yes?
Would you agree with me if I said that I don't think Ruhiff understands the point I was making still about the lack of critical thinking on his part?
Yeah, I think he does get it. He's just doing a good job of dodging it.
No, I understand the point. Would you like me to explain your point back to you?
Yeah. You said...
Yeah. You're accusing me.
Let him explain back then, Anthony. Go ahead.
My turn? Okay. I accuse flat earthers of not being able to properly evaluate or critically evaluate evidence. And then I said, who's that?
Hello, new guest. Chocolates, how you doing? Say hello.
What's up, guys?
Good to have you.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Tommy, huh?
See if Ruhiff continues or if he's been saved by a new guest.
And then Anthony accuses me of not critically evaluating Starman. There is a difference as to my provisional acceptance of Starman as opposed to your like 100% belief that the Earth is flat. There is a strength of conviction.
Ranty, you change your picture.
Do you mean a subjective strength of conviction?
What do you mean?
Is it a subjective strength of conviction in favour of yours with the ball Earth?
I'm 100%
Hey, Lottie,
sure
how you doing?
the Earth is a ball.
Can you say hello? Hold on, 1 second, guys. 1 second. Hello, Lottie.
Hi, Nathan. Is my mic okay?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Bloody hell, not
Thank
heard
you.
from you for a while, Lottie.
Sorry, Sleeping Warrior?
We've not heard from you for a while. Where have you been?
I've been busy researching Beelu. Just a quick question I wanted to point out, Sleeping Warrior. You said your observation point for the lowest one was 52 feet, which is higher than 36 feet. So I think that means Ranty owes me £5,000, if I'm correct.
Boom.
That would be the observation
wasn't
point.
that something to do with the amount of caravans they stack on top of each other?
No, he used the caravans as a reference, as a guide to how tall it was. So he said it was less than 3 caravans, which is 36 feet, and it was measured at 50, so I'm owed some money.
Yeah,
This
but don't
good.
you...
This is good.
I think there's a reasonable and fair way to come to this as a conclusion, which is to say that first and foremost, both you and Ranty have to put £5,000 into an account and demonstrate that you both got £5,000 to put on the table. And once there is £10,000 in a nice little pot that's verified, we'll get somebody independent to double check the data, and whoever wins the bet gets £10,000. So long as you can actually provide us that information, Lottie, and show that you've got £5,000 to put on the table against Ranty's £5,000. Obviously, once we've got all that nice and confirmed, that'll be the point that we actually hand it over to an adjudicator and establish who gets this 10 grand.
Lottie, listen. That value of 52 feet was based on the absolute lowest level of low tide in the low tide range. That wasn't based down to the shoreline.
No, it's fine. So you measured it to 52 feet, right?
Take 30 off that for the height, and then you're measuring down to the point where you were referencing between the two of you. So 52 becomes 32. So it changes nothing. Ranty was correct. You owe him, not the other way around.
Just a quick pointer, Sleeping Warrior. 52 minus 30 is not 32. Just so you know. I'll just update you on that. Okay.
No worries. But my point is, it was at low tide, not at high tide. You were referencing the high point on the beach, correct?
What about mean tide?
The bet was from your observation point down to the bottom of the cliff.
Right. That's not the low tide value of 52 feet, though, is it? So what I'm saying is you've got to take the tide value off that to give you the reference point in which you seek to rely upon to claim victory.
I've already won. I'm just waiting for my money.
If you've already won, then great. You'll just go and claim your £5,000 that you both put on the table to make it all official, then, won't you, Lottie? Excellent. Glad you've won. So, Ranty, you've got something to present, I assume?
I did, yeah. I wanted to ask Ruhif what he thought about this particular video here and using his critical analysis of this last NASA live feed, what he thinks about what's going on in this ISS feed. So if he's there to just watch this, hopefully he might see something that he can explain. Oh, what's going on there? What's going on here? What's that?
Pause it.
No, that's completely normal.
So why is the background blurred?
Wait, why is the background blurred?
Yeah, so for example, this here, I'm putting my mouse, I'm showing the audience that there's an entire wall that doesn't have any effect on it whatsoever. So it's not like the camera's glitching, it's a layer that's glitching. People, that's the layer that's glitching,
send me
right?
a link to it, actually.
I mean, it's that blue layer with the white checkers in the back.
I'll show it you in its entirety. This is where it glitches out. Everything in the foreground, including the people, glitch out, but the back, which is a set, isn't glitching.
Come to the studio, quick.
Now, so we're checking your ability to critically think, Ruhif. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I'd love to look at this. It's difficult to watch it being replayed through Hangouts.
You can watch it live on NASA.
Yeah, this happens all the time.
They actually released this. It was a live feed, and they still have it up on NASA.gov.
And can I just add to that we also, the Flat Earth, believe that NASA are doing this intentionally because we think that they're actually laughing at your ability to not critically analyze stuff.
Yeah, I don't buy that, actually.
Yeah, John LeBon's got exactly the same attitude. His opinion is that this stuff is not hidden. This stuff is not subtle. You know, it's there for all to see. And you've just got to have a little bit of critical thinking and you'll see it.
Or not, as the case may be.
Exactly, or not.
Like I said, I'm happy to look at it.
Well, it's not specifically this one that we're referring to. It's the inability to critically analyse the evidence in which you presented that you criticised us for, and you're demonstrating satisfactorily to yourself. You're doing the same.
I think this footage is quite interesting.
You think that right? There's about go look up bubbles in space on
I
YouTube.
say there's hundreds of these. I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of groaned when Ranty put that on screen. I knew I was going to play, but we're just anomaly hunting now, which I'm not a big fan of. But
Nah,
it's
we're
one of
not
those.
anomaly. There's loads of them, Nathan.
I know there's loads of them, but that's what I'm saying. It's obvious. It's been covered to death. It's really blatantly obvious. They're faking this stuff. They're on trapezes. They're using layered CGI. It's obvious.
Yeah, it
Come on,
really
guys.
is.
The female's hairs, they're too stiff. There should be a lot more wavier.
Ruhif's got to go. Thank you, Ruhif. Hopefully we'll catch you again with some ISS
check it out.
footage. I cannot wait if you get it. I really wish you the best. I hope you get good weather.
Me too. All right, catch us all.
Take care.
Bye, Ruth.
See ya.
I like Rue if I do, but that was one of his best lines. The ability of flat earthers not to critically analyze, and he does it himself, but doesn't realize he's doing it. It's like, hello.
Yeah, but Starman's not important to me.
Yeah,
Sleeping
but
Warrior, I think I should just point out that he does realise he's doing it. He's just saying that you're so retarded you can be just completely discounted.
no, he's not saying that.
No, that is what he's saying.
we-
Lottie's
never
right,
is.
although he's put an ad hom in there. He's saying that
Yeah.
basically you can discount. What Ruhif's point
I
was,
mean, no,
that you
well,
can
I didn't mean to
discount
add hom. I genuinely think that was his point, that you're flat earthers, so whatever you say is just completely irrelevant. You're absolutely retarded.
Right, and we see you as complete sheep that will accept anything that's on a television screen, Lottie. So, you know, it kind of works both ways. You know, you can call us retards just by an assumption because you've been brainwashed to assume that, and we can call you sheep because you accept everything you see on TV.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just explaining how I understood Ruhif's point, and I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
Most people would agree with him. Most people assume that flat earthers are all idiots. I get it. I don't not understand his point either, Lottie, and I get that you probably agree with him. However, you've got Starman floating around in a Tesla in space, haven't you guys? So, yeah, who's the retards?
At least
Right.
You realize just attaching a metal object shaped like a car to the side of a rocket is so much less retarded than speaking to an alien in a bush.
Yeah, we don't believe that either. Hey, Oxy, how you doing? First time on the panel. Good to have you. Can you hear us? Say hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh,
too late. I booted you. Sorry.
so did I. It could have been me.
You just
or
took that little bit too long, Oxy. Sorry, it's the first time you've joined. I know you're in the chat. I did hesitate to boot you and waited a few seconds before I did.
I held back as well, but you didn't get in quick enough. Sorry, Oxley.
Oh, damn it. New guest too. Sorry, Oxy. Really, really apologise. He's a Glober too. Damn.
We've got probably one of the best globonic morons in here now. Lottie,
let's
why
cut
do
the
you...
ad homs. Come on.
All right, Lottie, tell us why you...
I say that again. Sorry, I was laughing over you.
Tell us why you think you won the bet. First of all, can you tell everybody what the bet was? Because I'm still not clear on what the bet was. I got it roughly, but tell us what the bet was.
Are you serious? You're not clear on the bet. It's been explained to you like dozens of times, Sleeping Warrior. There's no way you can't understand it. It's simple. Ranty said that the observation point that the lowest observation point from there to the bottom of the cliffs was less than 36 feet. That's it. That's the bet.
Right, but he's right. It is 30. It's about 36 something feet. It's not that much. I can't remember what figure it was actually.
Okay, it's 36 something. It's 36 something that lost. And when the bet was originally laid out in debate number 90, he said the cliff is less than 3 caravans. Well, actually, it might be 3 and a bit. So he already admitted that it was more than 3. So he's incorrect.
But the value that we've given isn't referencing the high tide. The value that we've given is representing the lowest of the low tides.
Stop,
So you
just
can-
stop, Riley, because you're already wrong. We're not talking about the tides. We're talking about from the top of the cliff, your observation point that you lied about in the beginning, to the
No, we
bottom
didn't.
of the cliff. The tide is irrelevant, you absolute moron.
But you're claiming a victory based on 52 feet, right?
Well, no, my victory would be claimed on being higher than 36 feet, Riley.
Right, but when we ran the tape down, it turned out to be 34. Was it, Ranty, or 35? It was basically.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, this was the bet from your observation point here down to the rocks below, and we've actually got a physical measurement of me measuring up this part here. I've done it twice or 3 times, and it came out at exactly the same amount each time. I believe it was 29 feet at this point.
You've never actually got anything right so far, Ranty. Why would we look at your clip art, mate?
Lottie, so he's just said that he's measured it to 29 feet, right? So have you counted that and gone and measured it to debunk that claim?
No, I haven't.
So pay him $5,000.
Hang on a sec. We have measured this.
He doesn't just claim the height and then I pay him. Otherwise, I'll just claim it.
Oh, right. So I'll go through it again, Lottie. What we'll do is you'll put £5,000 into account, and so will Ranty. And once we establish that there is £10,000 on the table, we will get an independent adjudicator to go and measure it. How about that?
Sounds good. That sounds
right.
Really
great.
good.
As soon as I see your $5,000 on the table in escrow, we will go ahead and get an independent adjudicator. So as soon as I see Lottie's $5,000 on the table, we'll go and get an independent adjudicator to go and measure it from the top to the rocks, like Lottie has just claimed. Okay, Lottie?
You're an idiot, Nathan. You're nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that you can't just hold somebody randomly to $5,000 unless you have actually stumped up and put on the table £5,000, Lottie, because otherwise it's just nonsense. Just nonsense that you're asserting over and over again, like you actually have got $5,000 to put on the table, which I am in absolutely no doubt whatsoever. You haven't got a pot to piss in, mate. So holding somebody like Ranty to account for $5,000, unless you put $5,000 down, is totally erroneous.
Hang on, I'm more interested in what the actual bet was. Can I just ask, is this what the bet was, where this photo was taken from?
Yeah, it was from Anthony's observation point here to the rocks below.
The first one that you lied about?
Sorry?
It was the first observation point that Riley lied and denied.
Have you got any evidence that says it was from that point? What the bet was?
What did you say? Sorry, Ranty.
No, well, you wouldn't do, would you? Because you don't know what the bloody bet was. You assume that it was from Anthony's point at the top of the hill. Well, that wasn't the bet now, was it, Lottie? Before you sign up to something, you need to be very careful about what you're signing up to.
Lottie, what was the bet?
Seriously, you need to check the terms and conditions of the bet. And this was the terms and conditions of the bet.
14 grand got USD.
Oh, what's happened? Had a couple of network connections maybe? Lost a couple of guests.
Yeah,
nobody sniped
anything. Still in. I think he's dropped.
Good to have you. Thanks for being here. Feel free to rejoin if you just had a network problem.
Lottie, is the bet from the where Miles Davis was, or is the bet from where the observation point was, or what? You tell me where it was.
It doesn't matter where he thought the bet was. I made the bet. I made the things. I made the conditions of the bet. I was very clear and specific about the terms and conditions of the bet. He accepted these, and this is the terms and conditions of the bet. From this observation point to the rocks below. There is no other rocks below anywhere, any other observation points. These are the only rocks in the area. From your observation point on the hill here, taken here, to the rocks below, less than 3 caravans.
Lottie, do you agree that's what the terms of the bet is?
Doesn't matter what he thinks.
Doesn't matter.
He agreed to the bet.
Yes.
Right. I'm up here now, Lottie. I could go and run a tape down there in 10 minutes, and I could bring you back a hypotenuse leg.
We've done it already.
But I could do it now so we could see it live. Would you like me to go and measure it?
Yes, that'd be great.
Right, and what would you like me to do to validate that it's being done right now? What would you like me to put in my hand so that you can see it's being done right now, and I'll run the tape down and do it?
What? Sorry, what would I like to be put in your hands? What do you mean?
So that you know that I'm doing it just for your purposes, for you right now. What would you like me to do to validate it, to show that it wasn't a previous video?
Oh, it's fine. Just do it. Right. I'm not one of these paranoid idiots. I'll if you present it, I'll most likely believe it's you.
So just be clear. So it's from this point that Ranty's got on screen, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that was your first observation point, just to the left of the second caravan, right?
That's right. Okay. So down to the rocks below, which are the big boulders underneath. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I can do that. But how long have we got left, Nath?
3/4 of an hour.
Should I go and do it now? The only trouble is it's absolutely bouncing down, and I don't have a second person to help me do it at the minute. She's out with the dogs. If the weather's better tomorrow,
you're gonna backtrack now and go,
tomorrow.
it's raining. Well, you've dug yourself this grave now. I was thinking this while you were suggesting it.
I
See,
could
the
do
thing
it.
is, I've got video of me throwing the tape down here and doing the hypotenuse. I've also physically measured it 3 times, and
Let's
it
see
all
it then.
comes out to
Let's see
exactly
that.
the
Let's see
same
what you've got. Let's bring up what you've got, Ranty.
Yeah, play the
I'll
video.
have to find it.
Yeah, all
You
right.
put me on the hop. I've got loads. Give me 10 minutes, and I'll
worries.
show you the videos that we have.
And we can talk about Belu in the meantime.
I think I might have a minute. I think I might have it here.
Yeah.
Hello, the Rumpus.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, the Rumpus. I demand, Nathan, that we treat the Rumpus with respect today.
Respectfully,
Welcome, the
have you got
Rumpus.
any scientific proof of Earth curvature that adheres to the scientific method, Rumpus? Is that something that you can provide me with?
Established where he was in the Alk video, because when Ranty and Nathan and Riley measured the distance to a point, it was not the first observation point. When they
Sorry,
did that in the
this
video,
doesn't
Alk
really
has
answer my
conclusively
question.
shown
I've asked you
that they
probably
did
in
not
excess of about 80 times, Rumpus. So, have you got any scientific proof of Earth curvature?
Nathan, why did you just interrupt the Rumpus's sentence? That's
Because I've
really
asked him
rude.
a question about 80 plus times. That's why.
Yeah, but he was in the middle of. He was in the middle, Nathan. He was in the middle of talking to me, not you. So just wait your turn, please. Thank
All right,
you.
well, my
will
turn
respond
was
to you,
several
Nathan. I just
shows
wanna
ago,
make
Lottie, and you
point.
weren't here when I asked him. So, unfortunately, your turn is massively superseded by the 80 plus times I've asked him.
No. Yeah, but that's fine, Nathan. You could wait.
Jolly good, so I'll ask him again then. Thanks for that. Glad to know it's jolly good by Lottie, the co-host. Excellent. So, Rumpus, do you have any scientific proof of Earth curvature?
I do, but if you just give me 10 seconds to give Lottie a point, if you please. Lottie, make sure, look at the Alk video about Riley's lower measurement point. It does not match where Nathan, Ranty, and Riley measured to in the video. So do not accept.
Excellent. So you've had your 10 seconds. So where's your scientific proof of Earth curvature then, Rumpus? I'd like to see it. Please, if you don't mind, take your time. In your own time, Rumpus. I don't see anything being displayed on your screen.
Right. Not quite sure that Lottie's actually heard me yet. Lottie,
I don't care.
Look at the Alk video.
Not interested in your conversation with Lottie. Have it off air.
Okay,
Where's your scientific proof of Earth curvature?
I just want to make sure that Lottie.
Are we going to get into triple digits of me asking you this question?
Rumpus, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't want to get into triple
point.
digits
That's
of
the
me
point.
asking you.
Right. Also, okay, from what I just caught in the image you've just shown, the video you showed about Ruhif, about the astronauts being.
Sorry, Rumpus, why are you joining in on these recent conversations when there's an outstanding question that's been asked in excess of 80 times?
I just saw this.
Just put up on screen your scientific proof of Earth curvature. That's all you're here for.
You've got it there, actually. You've got scientific proof with your picture of a sunset.
Sorry, that is not an adherence to the scientific method, Rumpus. Are you a moron? Are you a complete moron? That's a picture of a sunset. Absolutely, this is the best you've got. You're telling me when I ask you for scientific proof of Earth curvature that there's one on screen in a hangout on Google. You having a laugh, man?
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having a laugh. So I'll ask you, I bet we're up to 90 times that I've asked you this question, Rumpus. Where's your scientific proof of Earth curvature?
All videos of sunsets.
Sorry, all videos of sunsets qualify as scientific proof of Earth curvature. Okay, so in that sunset, what's the null hypothesis?
You don't have to have a null hypothesis.
Yes, you do. That's what the scientific method demands. You also need plenty of other things that this doesn't have because it's just an image of a sunset, Rumpus. So
that's true. I would actually agree.
It is true. So let's stop blithering about sunsets, you idiot. Where's your scientific proof of Earth curve?
Nathan, let him
God knows what that makes you.
The whole body of science.
Yeah, the whole body of science. Yeah,
there you go.
That's right. Whole body of science.
You sound like a Christian saying the body of Christ. That's what they would say, Rumpus. Do you realise that? You sound like a fundamentalist. Do you realise that? That's what they would do. The body of science compels you. The body of science compels you.
Nathan, you ask a question. Why don't you let the gentleman finish his
I've asked it 90 times, Lottie, and so far the best he's come up with is soundly. That was his go-to. Soundly is apparently scientific proof of Earth curvature, and in this show, after 90 plus times of being asked the question, the best he can come up with is telling me that I've got scientific proof on my Hangout right now.
Well, if you just shut your mouth for a second, he might actually be able to finish his sentence, Nathan.
The problem is, Nathan, that it's such a standard piece of accepted body of the science. For instance, we don't have a paper.
Yeah, you're doing what Ruhif did earlier. All you're doing is dancing around the scientific method rather than actually providing something that's adhered to it. And I've made this point on multiple occasions, Rumpus. You've had 2,000 years of globe understanding. Yeah, there should be at least one scientific proof that adheres to the scientific method.
Right. We do not have a paper, for instance, to prove that 2 + 2 is equal to 4.
Yeah, what I'm asking for isn't a paper that proves mathematics, or that 2 + 2 = 4. I am asking for a scientific proof of Earth curvature that adheres to the scientific method.
Yawn. Right, here we go. We do not have a paper that adheres to the scientific method that proves that 2 + 2 is equal to 5.
Yeah, you also don't have a scientific proof of Earth curvature that adheres to the scientific method, Rumpus.
Well, because
Rumpus, just 1 second. I've got a little trick. So every time he interrupts you, just stop talking, and when he's finished, just carry on your sentence, and the message should get through to him.
Yeah, Ruhif does this. I've thought about this as a trick. Yeah, it's the only way to ignore everything he says for 5, everything he says, and then just carry on. I agree with you a lot.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. Okay. So we do not have a paper about lots of things that the science accepts. We do not have a paper, say, for instance, that numbers, maths, and basic maths that we take as granted because we sorted that out 2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago, there was an acceptance that you live on a sphere. Between then and now, I'd like you to provide me with scientific proof of that assertion, please.
Of the Earth being round. Well, I presented you with 6 papers, I think, and 1 hangout about a week ago.
Yes, we went through them. None of them adhered to the scientific method. Not one.
You're not a judge.
I am a judge in this instance. I've gone through this as well. In this instance, I am the judge. The judge.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. No. Right. Why is it that I've asked 90 plus times for scientific proof of Earth curvature, and all we ever seem to do...
Shut up, Nathan.
All we ever seem to do is dance around how narrow or how broad the scientific method is. Why is that? Why isn't it that you just haven't provided something that we can go through and say, yeah, this adheres to the scientific method. This would be considered scientific proof of Earth curvature.
Just shut for a second, Nathan.
You don't know what the scientific method is. For instance, you've just asserted that the null hypothesis is a requirement for the scientific method. That is only a requirement for certain sorts of scientific investigation when you have 2 competing...
Yeah, here we go again, telling us why the scientific method's wrong. Why aren't you providing a scientific proof of Earth curvature? Why are you discussing the limitations or the exclusions that the scientific method have? Why aren't you just providing me with a scientific proof of Earth curvature?
Because you are defining what you think is the scientific method, and I keep on asking you
what you're doing it again. You're trying to discuss my adherence or my understanding of the scientific method, and I don't want to do that. I simply want you to provide me with what 2,000 years of globe understanding has provided to the world at large as a scientific proof of Earth curvature.
No, you want me to present something that fits into what your idea of the scientific method is.
No, I want something that adheres to the scientific method. Not what my idea of the scientific method is. I want something that adheres to the scientific method. You present it, and I'll scrutinise it, Rumpus. You're not presenting a damn thing. You're just arguing with me about my understanding of the scientific method, rather than actually providing a scientific proof of Earth curvature. You are failing to do this, and it's going to get up to the point where we are asking you hundreds of times to actually provide something, and you continually fail to actually provide any scientific proof of Earth curvature. Really, Rumpus? Are we going to get up to 100 times of me asking you this exact same question over and over again?
Do you understand that, chocolate on your nose?
Finish your sentence. Let me just clarify one thing, just so you know. Some people that are too stupid to understand the scientific method, Nathan, and you are one of these people.
Yeah, I'll decide whether or not the paper that Rumpus provides adheres to the scientific method once he provides it. The problem being Rumpus hasn't provided it. He's provided stuff that doesn't adhere to the scientific method thus far, and is now criticising for me for my understanding of the scientific method, rather than just providing another different paper that we could scrutinise that does adhere to the scientific method.
You can't, Nathan, you can't scrutinise anything.
I will scrutinise it if it's provided. It just hasn't been.
Nathan, you're not in a position to judge whether something follows the scientific method.
Yes, I am perfectly capable of judging. I am the judge in this instance, Rumpus. So, if you can do it, if you're capable, please go and provide scientific proof of Earth curvature to
Nathan,
me, so
just
I
to
can
save some
pass
time
judgment
here,
on
why
it.
don't you explain to the Rumpus that you know what the scientific method is? Go
I
ahead.
will scrutinise a paper that he provides. That's what I will
No,
do.
Nathan, what we want to do is just to make sure that you know the scientific method. Why don't you go ahead and explain to the Rumpus what it is so that he can then confirm that you are aware of it?
No. What I will do is scrutinise the paper that provides scientific proof of Earth curvature. That is what I will do. I will not be put on a pedestal and demanded that I provide proof of... Eleanor, can you stop that, please? Stop it. I will not be put on a pedestal and demanded anything of. I am in a position where I have to accept that there has been 2,000 years of an understanding that we live on a sphere. Therefore, it would be safe to assume that you could provide a paper for scrutiny that adheres to the scientific method. My understanding of the scientific method is irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether or not I understand it. I can get help. There are plenty of other people who can also scrutinise it alongside. All we need to follow this process is for the Rumpus to provide us with this scientific proof of Earth curve. And then, no, I'm not a scientist. It may take me a while to look through it. It may take me some help, Lottie. But that doesn't change the fact that we haven't been provided any scientific proof of Earth curvature by Rumpus to be scrutinised. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking him to dissect my understanding of it. I'm asking him to provide me scientific proof of Earth curvature. And I'm pretty certain we're now well into the 90 times of asking for scientific proof of Earth curvature from Rumpus, and he hasn't provided any, Lottie. So no, let's not concern ourselves with what is understood on my side of the table, and let's see what 2,000 years of globe understanding can actually provide you with to satisfy me.
Yeah, I can turn Nathan down, actually, so that just we could talk.
Turn me down and I'll kick you out.
Hi, welcome, Alan.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, Alan. Good to have you.
Hello, good morning, boys.
We've got Alan B here to add some sanity to the call. Thank you.
What I particularly like is the way that Nathan set up a totalitarian theocracy. It's an argument he can't lose.
Oh, right. So asking for a scientific proof of Earth curvature is an argument I can't lose. Excellent. Why do you think I keep using it, Alan?
Because you don't understand the scientific method. And
no, because there isn't any scientific proof of Earth curvature, Lottie. That's the problem. 2,000 years hasn't actually afforded any scientific proof of this bullshit religion you think
There's no point speaking over your guests continuously, Nathan. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'll do what I like. You never seem to get this point, Lottie. You seem to think that you can tell me not to talk over you, and that means that I won't. No. I'll just keep reasserting over and over again that you've had 2,000 years to come up with a scientific proof of Earth curvature, and there isn't any. Alan's just come on and said, it's an argument he can't lose. That's right. I can ask a million times, and Rumpus will never, ever be able to provide a scientific proof of Earth curvature. Because there isn't one. There is no scientific proof of Earth curvature. If there was one, it wouldn't matter how many times I interrupted. He'd just stick 20, 30, 400 up on screen, because you'd expect there to be 20, 40, 300 million of them after 2,000 years of acceptance. Oh, right, okay. Let's see one.
You don't understand them.
Okay, I'll make it nice and clear. Rumpus, please can you provide me with the following: a scientific proof of Earth curvature.
You don't need a null hypothesis.
Oh, so rather than actually providing it me, Rumpus is now telling me that it doesn't need something, that the scientific method's wrong. He's not just sticking it on screen, he's not just providing it, Lottie. I've listened to his bullshit, and he's not giving it me.
You don't need a null hypothesis.
See, he's doing it again. Rather than providing a scientific proof of Earth curvature, he's telling me the things it doesn't need. Do you see, Lottie? It's not about not listening or not talking over people. It's about the fact that there isn't one. There is no scientific proof of Earth curvature.
Nathan, can we just have a civil conversation here? Let's stop talking over each other and let's have a conversation. So the Rumpus has said you don't need a null hypothesis.
That's fascinating. So I'm sure if the Rumpus can provide me with a scientific proof of Earth curvature, I can go through it and decide what it does and doesn't need, Lottie. I'll be the judge of that. Even though you're telling me that I won't be the judge of it, I absolutely will be.
Okay, you are the judge, that's fine, I understand that.
I am, that's
correct. But what
correct.
I'm saying is, the Rumpus has said you don't need a null hypothesis. So why don't you ask him why on this occasion you don't need that? And maybe he will explain it to you.
Maybe I could ask him that. Or I could ask in excess of 100 times for a scientific proof of Earth curvature to be provided to me, and then I'll judge it at my leisure.
That's fine, but your
criteria is wrong.
Yes,
You're
Nathan, you
judging
also
it incorrectly.
See, I'm being told, it sounds like, while you're talking over each other, Lottie and Rumpus, funny though that might be for the audience, funny that you're talking over each other whilst telling me off for talking over you. It is amusing, but the reality is, I'll decide what I'm asking. I've asked it in excess of 90 times. Next show, I'll point out that I've asked it in excess of 100 times for a scientific proof of Earth curvature to be provided to me. 2,000 years, we should have one.
Nathan,
I should be able to go through it at my leisure. I don't need to justify my understanding
Nathan,
of anything.
You've asked him 90 times, remember, which is nearly double figures.
Nearly double figures. Do you know what double means, Lottie? Are you mathematically retarded? Double means 2. So it's not nearly double figures. It is double figures, Lottie. Man. You retard.
No, you said nearly double figures, Nathan. It's already double figures. You said this a couple of shows ago.
Double is 2. We're nearly into triple figures, Lottie. Clearly you're retarded. So, yes, don't poison the chat with your retarded nonsense. We're nearly into triple figures. We are in double figures. 90's double, 2. That's what double means. Anyway, let's not get distracted with how many times the question's been asked based on double or triple digits. Let's focus on the fact that after being asked in excess of 90 times, Rumpus has failed to just provide any scientific proof of Earth curvature. And as Alan has pointed out, nicely, there is no scientific proof of Earth curvature. It's an argument I can't lose, Lottie.
You seem to think censoring. You think the only way you can defend your position is censoring people.
I'm not censoring people.
Are you so scared of having a debate that the only way you can engage with people is to censor debate? Very strange having a debate channel in which you censor debate.
I'm not censoring anything. I'm asking you for scientific proof of Earth curvature. I keep asking for it, but I just never get it.
And I keep on, and you don't allow me to answer.
No, you do answer. You tell me that you don't need a null hypothesis. So you're not actually giving me a scientific proof of Earth curvature. You're telling me what I don't need.
Yes, but
yeah. Now you're stuttering. So rather than telling me what I do and don't need, you provide me with a scientific proof of Earth curvature, and I'll study it at my leisure. Simple.
Moving. I'll just turn Nathan down here. Oh, no,
turn me down and I'll kick you out. I've already said that, Rumpus. What are you talking about?
If you persist on interrupting, I'll just turn you down and I'll speak to Lottie.
Yeah, Nathan, this is a debate. You're supposed to moderate, not just interrupt everyone. Just keep quiet, please.
Sorry, you're telling the host of the show that you want to talk amongst yourselves and you're going to turn him down because he's asked in excess of 90 times for a scientific proof of something that you haven't provided. And you're telling me that I'm an unreasonable moderator. No, I'm afraid not, Lottie. No. Where's your scientific proof of Earth curvature,
We just want
Rumpus?
other people to have a conversation, Nathan, without you interrupting consistently.
Yeah, I'm going to consistently interrupt until
interrupting every
Rumpus...
so often is fine. If you've got to think there's a gross error, I think interrupting is absolutely perfectly reasonable. But to completely interrupt people when they're just starting a sentence every single time they try and answer you, that's not a debate. That's you. Well, I mean,
What's wrong with me asking continually for something that you haven't provided, Rumpus? If you want to continually obfuscate and tell me what I do and don't need from the scientific method, rather than just providing a scientific proof of Earth curvature, then what do you want? I'm just going to keep asking you over and over again.
yeah, but you don't listen to the answer. You don't.
I've listened to the answer, and your answer is that I don't understand the scientific method. Your answer is to tell me to explain it to you. Your answer is to tell me that you don't need a null hypothesis. Ruhif's answer is to tell me that my understanding is too narrow. That's what your answer is. The question is simple. Why isn't it that you can't just simply provide a scientific proof of Earth curvature? Why is it that you want to continually obfuscate? Tell me what I don't understand. Tell me what I will and won't accept. Why is that?
Can we have this on a loop? Oh, we've got to put this on a loop, and then we can talk amongst ourselves while he's doing that, perhaps. Right.
What do you mean talk amongst yourselves?
You cannot be the judge.
Yes, I can be the judge. I will be the judge. What are you talking about?
Yes, that's right. That's fine, Nathan.
Yeah, it is fine. I'll be the judge of the scientific proof of Earth curvature that you provide me with.
The reason the space station, the people disappear, is that they're moving. When you have digital compression of things, when you start losing the transmission, you lose the things that are moving.
No, you don't get to talk about these subjects, Rumpus. Your only purpose, while you're on the panel, is to provide scientific proof of Earth curvature. That's what you're here for. You're not here to talk about the anomalies and the fun stuff that we talk about.
I've just explained to people who might be interested as to why that video you should put up...
No, I'm not interested in your explanation for a NASA anomaly. I am only interested in your scientific proof of Earth curvature.
Well, you might be, but I'm not interested in answering any of those sorts of questions. So
if you're not interested in answering that question, right, you've got two choices. You're on the fine line here, Rumpus. You can obfuscate it only so long, right?
Lottie, I'm on the fine line.
Yeah, you are, you are.
I'm on the
like
fine
Neg,
line.
like
Lottie,
Neg.
I'm on the fine line. Oh no, people, I'm on the fine line.
Yeah, you are on a fine line, like Neg. If he just says, I don't want to answer that question, then you can basically sod off. You've got no point, you've got no place in being here. If you simply don't give an answer and say, I'm not going to give an answer for that, I'd rather talk about NASA anomalies than actually provide a scientific proof of Earth curvature, then you've got no place in being here. You know, you've obfuscated for nearly 100 times of being asked the same question, and now you're saying, oh, I'd rather talk amongst myself with Lottie about a NASA anomaly than actually address the fact that you haven't provided a scientific proof of Earth curvature.
Finest line I've ever witnessed.
I think you've crossed the line.
That's a thick line.
I think
nice pun, Alan B.
Close encounter with a line there.
Rumpus, you say that only the moving things move.
Sorry?
You said that only the moving things are moving and
I
getting
did say that,
glitched
yes.
out. Yeah, okay. So I want you to pay attention to this area here.
Okay.
And nothing is actually moving at all. Nothing's moving at all. But you watch how this glitches out as well.
Right, which
here we go. What's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on there? What's that?
Isn't that simply compression?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
It's a compression issue. Yeah.
He said only the moving things.
Yes, but it is, can't you? But can you not see that there is a noise? It's a noisy picture, and so could you not see that it was speckled, and that's due to noise in the image, and therefore that constitutes moving?
No.
Can you not
look at it before? You'll see that area around there was noisy. What's more, that also has a reflection of the people.
So anything that has a reflection and moves.
Well, anything that's moving, any movement means requires extra compression.
Rumpus, I can't believe you believe half the nonsense that comes out of your mouth.
Oh, I believe everything. Well, reality is complicated. Whoever said that, and that
you're really saying that this is reality. You
Absolutely.
Look at this and you say this is reality.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Come on.
We have independent evidence. We have many independent lines of evidence, and it conforms to the laws of physics. I mean, you can see in the images here, just their faces and things. The compression on here causes random effects. For instance, it only requires 1 pixel.
The only
on the
compression on him is the pants.
So why is that not happening to the rest of the background?
I explained to you. I explained to you, it's things that are moving require compression.
Okay, so what's going on in the cabin and the right?
Are you familiar with the idea of keyframes and things in video compression?
All that stuff on the right is not moving.
Well, it only has to
be. You're telling me they cannot fit the video. Have you ever seen this on terrestrial TV when they're watching the Olympics or anything like that? Any kind of the world sports racing on television? Have you ever Grand Prix? Have you ever seen this glitch out on that?
Oh no, obviously not.
So why does it glitch out on this then?
Because this is not.
Probably because it's travelling from space.
Yeah, it's because it's travelling from space, Alan.
17,000.
That's probably the answer.
This is someone using the equivalent of your desktop stuff and then transmitting it. This is not an official broadcast using This is not a broadcast company doing this. This is someone using a simple video camera and then having to compress it using. Yes, but
is it because they're moving at 17,000 miles an hour?
Company, they don't have the equipment that they would.
No, they don't have the equipment, do they? You're right. They don't have the equipment.
Not to do video stuff. They haven't got a big television camera with all the hardware. Remember, every kilogram to get into space requires I can't remember how many kilograms of fuel you need to get a kilogram of space, but it's a large amount.
That's the case, then why don't they put him on a diet then? Look at the size of him. Seriously, why have they sent him up that size? Get him on a diet, right? If it costs all this money to send every kilo up, right? Look how many kilos he's got there.
Yeah, but then they're probably accused of discrimination of being fattest or something if they did that.
Get out of it. It's NASA.
They would be accused of discrimination if they
really. So F1 drivers who require extreme. Hold on, Rumpus. Rumpus, you're talking over constantly. Rumpus. So when they have F1 drivers that have to be in the peak of physical condition in order to drive an F1 car, would you say that they're being prejudiced against fat people?
Are we fat-shaming astronauts now?
No, I'm saying that you would require to be light because of the limitations of space. That's Ranty's point.
I'll give you an answer, Nathan, if I can. These people are here because of their brain power. The people in the Grand Prix car are there because they can do the best at driving. This guy might be the best at doing whatever he does in a car that's being fast. If this guy was no good at his job of being whatever it is he's doing here, unless he's on some sort of teacher some sort of that NASA propaganda thing to get
why has he got a watch on? Why have they brought watches up?
I have no idea.
No, all these extra weights, all this extra weight that they're bringing up, it all adds up. He's got a belt on here,
Yeah, I mean,
why don't they put them in suits?
Why
don't weigh anything?
I
mean, come on,
you
cannot watch this and think it's real.
It is absolutely 100% real.
This is the biggest load of nonsense. We've got layers that are dissolving into each other. How you can claim it's real and it's just a camera glitch because it's a handheld camera is beyond me.
You can see the ISS from your. You could see it if you wish to.
You can see something.
So, Rumpus, you believe that these guys right now are moving at 17,000 miles an hour
Absolutely.
on the ISS?
I mean, have you been in a train? I mean, you've been in an aeroplane, I presume, that travels at 500 miles an hour. Did you feel any great stress doing that?
Yeah.
It doesn't come 17.
Yeah.
No, but did you feel as though you're being thrown around at 500 miles an hour? No.
Yes, I did. Yes, absolutely, unequivocally, in a plane, you feel forces. Yes.
Right. But do you understand the principle of Galileo's theory of relativity, that you could be for instance, in a train.
Sorry, did you just ignore what I just said, Rumpus? Yes, I've been on a plane, and yes, I could feel forces acting on me. Did you just completely ignore that?
I didn't hear that. Okay,
right, I'll say it again, no problem. So I've been on a plane, and you can unequivocally feel forces on you the entire time you're on the plane.
Right, that's due to the change in velocity. You're not maintaining a perfect 500 miles an hour because of winds and things.
Oh, so it's a crap example then. So it's a rubbish example. So why did you bring it up? Why did you bring it up then? Why did you bring it up?
What's the last question?
Why did you bring it up then?
Because in space you don't have winds and things, and you can go along perfect with it. Well, actually, they're going through a tiny bit of the atmosphere, so they are affected very, very slightly by the atmosphere, but basically they're going through a vacuum.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was, why did you bring up an aeroplane? You're now telling us what happens in space, but you tried to use something as an analogy. You used a plane. I'm asking why. Why? Why did you use a plane as an analogy?
I've got 10 more seconds to go in my explanation. In space, you can go along in perfect straight lines and you're not affected by winds and things, so you do not feel the forces that you felt on an airplane.
Who's you? I don't feel the forces in space. I've never been to space. That's why I'm asking you about something that was analogous, which was a plane, which I have been on.
Right, but you accept that you're not feeling the forces of 500 miles an hour. You're feeling the effect.
No, are you deaf? Are you stupid? I've just said it twice. Yes, I felt forces the entire journey while I was on a plane. When I asked you why you brought that up as an example, you went on to explain that you don't feel any forces in space because of constant motion. I've not been to space, Rumpus. Have you been to space, dickhead?
Okay, let me explain more.
Have you been to space, man? Have you?
Yes.
You've been to space?
So, on an aeroplane...
Hold on. You've been to space, Rumpus.
Point is that
hold on. No. You just answered yes to my question. Have you been to space?
That the force...
Why do you keep talking? I'm asking you a very direct question. Have you been to space? Because you've just answered yes.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you go to space?
Last week.
You went to space last week?
Last week, yes.
Tell me all about it.
Then you Freemason them.
Hold on, let's hear it.
Yeah, I was in space last week. Yeah, I had quick stuff. Bilu, I had a chat with Bilu online.
Sorry, are you lying?
Yes, I am actually.
You are lying. You have not been to space.
You saw through me. Oh dear. You saw through it, didn't you? Damn.
So you were lying. You haven't been to space. So my point that when you used a plane, that's something that we can all experience, and it doesn't in any way compare to what you're now just going to assert you can feel in space, and you haven't been there. That really pisses me off, you lying little toad. Don't laugh at me, Rumpus. I asked you a direct question in terms of your comparison to an aeroplane and obliterated your assertion that you don't feel any forces on it. Then I asked you about who has been to space, and you claimed you had. Now you've just admitted that you're a lying little toad and that you haven't been to space, and then tried to make light of it with Bilu the alien. Now, while it's fun to make fun of these idiots who believe in Bilu, or these idiots that believe in Starman, none of us have been to space, including you lying toad.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Yeah, you think it's funny. I just find you a disingenuous liar.
You're so stupid.
We'll cut out that section and we will play it at nausea. Rumpus is a liar.
I'm trying to answer your question.
You are a liar. You claimed you had been to space. You are a liar. Yeah, you think it's funny, man. Yeah, I'm going to hold your toes to the fire with this as well, you lying toad. Rumpus is unequivocally a liar. He lied on this show about going to space. The point being that we can't go to space. We can't validate any of this stuff we're anomaly hunting with. We can't double check it for ourselves. That's why I highlighted his analogy with an aeroplane.
And I'm trying to answer your question.
No, you didn't. You lied. You lied and said that you'd been to space because you're a liar. That's what you did, Rumpus. You lied to me, you lied to the panel, and you lied to the audience. Now you're laughing about your lie. You disingenuous lying toad. You've got no scientific proof of Earth curvature, and all you can do when you draw analogies when you're anomaly hunting, all you can do is lie.
Socially dysfunctional.
He wasn't a lie, Nathan.
He did lie. I asked him a direct question about space and whether or not he'd been there. His answer was yes. I then forced the issue and asked him again if he'd been to space, and he answered for a second time, yes, I have been to space. Rumpus is a liar.
Dysfunctional.
Rumpus, just let him talk to himself.
Yeah, I'll turn him down again in a minute. So I get
Go on then.
All right, I'm trying to give an answer.
Turn me down, Rumpus. Watch what happens.
I'm trying to answer his question as to why in an aeroplane he feels forces, and the reason is because in the atmosphere you are buffeted around by winds and you can't go in a perfect straight line. If aeroplanes could go along in a perfect straight line, then you would not feel any forces at all. You can perhaps a better analogy would being on an air on the HS1 or something where they've got straight tracks.
1 second, Rumpus. Is that you, Haunted? Yes, it is. He's got his camera on. Sorry, Rumpus.
Right. So
you want to be careful, Nathan, because if it is the real haunted house, he is known to play pawn. Just letting you know.
Is that so?
Right. So if you're on a train that's got very smoothly lined rails and on smooth suspension, you can actually get to the point where you are almost, even if you're traveling like 200 miles an hour, which they have on the sort of the French lines and on the monorails, you can get to the point where you really cannot perceive the fact you're moving, even though you're traveling at 200 miles an hour. Now, if an aeroplane could go through, no atmosphere, then you would have the same sensation at 500 miles an hour. And if you remove the atmosphere, which is what you've got in space, then you don't perceive any movement. And the Galilean theories of relativity, just like dropping a ball on a ship, or throwing something up in a train that you would do, or throwing a ball to one another. Let's suppose you're in two seats on a train and you could throw a ball to one another. It's not affected by how fast you're going because there are no forces, because forces are all about acceleration.
Right, that's total nonsense. The same applies to a train. I've been on a train. I've been on some very, very fast monorails. I've been on some 200-mile-an-hour trains, and you do feel the forces on them like you do on aeroplanes. So, why is it that when we ask you about why there's no forces acting on them, you go and tell us about trains and planes where we do feel forces acting on us?
They're very small, though, Nathan, aren't they?
Right. Well, they're non-existent in the anomalous footage that we have shown.
Do you accept they're very, very small in comparison to the forces you would expect if the forces were proportional to the speed? So it's not like 200-mile-an-hour forces, is it? It's very small little forces.
Hold on, is that really Infinite Plane Society? I doubt it.
But do you
hold on a second. Is that you, Infinite Plane Society?
Even though you're traveling very, very quickly.
Rumpus, you believe
hold on, I'd like Nathan to
answer.
I'll answer your question, whoever it is, Chocolate. I'd like to hear Nathan confirm that the forces he experiences on this monorail and things are very, very small, even though he's traveling at 200 or 300 miles an hour on a train and 500 miles an hour on an aeroplane.
It's not comparable to space. I have never experienced space. So while you're trying to claim that the forces are very small, they are still existent. And what we are trying to compare it to is non-existent, completely linear forces. So, inertia at its best on the ISS, we can't experience that, Rumpus. So comparing it to something with small forces means nothing.
Right. Do you understand the principle that the forces you're experiencing are nothing to do with the speed? If you were feeling the forces if in other words the forces were proportional to the speed, then you would expect the force to get very much larger when you're going at 200 miles an hour in a train than you were, say, in a car doing 50. But they're not.
On the
they're
ISS?
actually less. The
We're not
forces
talking
are
about cars compared to
my
planes, or
goodness.
cars compared to trains, or monorails compared to trains.
I'm trying to.
We're
I'm trying to
talking
establish
about the
a principle here,
ISS.
to understand.
The
Ask
ISS
someone new, Rumpus. I don't know you, man.
Who's asking me a question then? There was someone asking me a question.
Haunted House, Jonathan.
Oh, hello, Haunted House.
Hey, Nathan, where's my introduction, man?
Hey, Haunted. I did try and introduce you. There was just lots of people talking at the same time.
Oh, all right. I'll let it slide this time.
What's up, Haunted?
What's up, guys?
You guys?
Yeah. Go ahead. It sounds like a moot point, but I'll give it a shot. And IPS should be right behind me, Nathan. That is him if he tried to join her. Just letting you know.
Oh, okay, cool.
So go ahead, Rumpus. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking me a question.
Oh no, I was saying pose your question.
Oh, Chocolate was asking me a question. Sorry.
I wanted to ask you. You're talking about speeds 200, 300, 400 miles per hour.
Yeah.
The ISS is supposed to be moving at 17,000.
Correct.
500.
Correct.
And you truly believe that human beings can just survive moving at 17,500 miles per hour?
Right. Well, when trains were first
with no forces
in
space.
Yeah, indeed, I can answer. When trains were first thought of, and they said you'd be going along at 30 miles an hour, some people suggested the human body couldn't sustain that because, of course, no one had been that speed before. What they didn't understand was Galileo had shown with things like activities in ships that the speed, you only feel forces, was this Newton's second law, that the force exerted upon you is equal to your mass times the acceleration you're subjected to. If you're not subjected to any acceleration, then the force upon you is zero. So it wouldn't matter if you were doing 1,000,000 miles an hour, the force upon you is zero if there's no acceleration. So that's why being in a car going along at 50 miles an hour feels much the same on a smooth road as a train doing 200 or 300 miles an hour, and a plane who's going through hold on, let me just finish my sentence. and then a plane doing 500 miles an hour. They don't feel that much different. Whereas if what you're saying is that there's a relationship between the speed you're going and the forces you're feeling, you expect there to be, in a car it's a bit more jiggly, then a train is that much more jiggly, and then a plane is much more jiggly.
We get the point. You know what the problem is with what you just said? You said that all the descriptions you just made, you said because these people, Galileo and Newton, proved this stuff. But where's the practical example? You know, what you're explaining, if you're trying to prove something to someone, you got to have a similar interest in things. There's got to be some type of common understanding of what you're talking about.
And all these things have been invented after Galileo and all that. So
you really can't reference things hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We're talking about right now, we're talking about guys on the internet. Practical shit.
Okay,
but I'm not even sure what the point is.
Do you know what an accelerometer is? Do you know what an accelerometer is?
Yeah, somewhat.
Right. So so an accelerometer measures the acceleration. So you've got them in phones and things. So you can hold.
We'll stop right there. Measures acceleration. What does that mean? Acceleration is how fast something's moving. How fast something gets up to speed.
No. Right. Obviously, you don't know what. Okay. Let's just say the difference. Do you know what the difference between velocity and acceleration is?
Sure. Yeah. Velocity comes after the fact.
No, that's not an answer. That's not a correct answer.
Velocity of something. I use velocity when I wash my car. I go back, I step like 20 feet away from the car, and I launch the water at the car. So it picks up velocity, and when it hits the car, it's got more weight behind it. Whereas if I stood 2 feet from it,
no, you don't.
It's going to have a different velocity.
You've got some vague idea. Acceleration is the change in velocity.
Hey, is that the real Tim Osman? How are you doing?
Right, but get to the point though.
Let me finish. Right,
hold on 1 second. Can I just say hello to our new guest?
So do you understand? So do you understand that velocity is the change of position divided by time? So, for instance, if I travel 1 kilometer and I do that in a second, I have a velocity of 1 kilometer per second. But I've also
it's directional, right?
Yeah, well, no, let's forget the direction. Let's just concentrate on the magnitude here. So if I go 1 kilometer in 1 second, I'm doing 1 kilometer per second. Sure. But if I started at 0 and I go up to 1 kilometer per second, I've actually undergone an acceleration of 1 kilometer per second because you divide by the time again. So acceleration. So for instance, if you're doing 40 miles an hour.
So what are you trying to prove here?
I'm trying to prove to you I'm trying to define acceleration for you because you don't understand it. And
I understand acceleration good enough. I'm wondering why you're trying to convince me.
Right, because
what are you telling?
Hold on, let me finish my sentence. You are asking me why you don't feel forces. Forces are related to acceleration.
I feel forces.
Hold on. But people like you get confused between velocity and acceleration. Forces are only related to acceleration. And that's why you can be going 1,000,000 miles an hour in velocity and feel no force. What would matter is if you change between 1,000,000 miles an hour and say 500,000 miles an hour. If you did that in a second, you would feel the most tremendous forces because it's the change in. Hold on, let me finish. Hold on, let me finish my sentence. It's the
I cut you off.
Hold on. It's the change in velocity that over a period of time that is acceleration. And that's what you feel as a force. If there's no change in velocity, so if you're doing 17,000 miles an hour in a spaceship and you don't change your velocity, you do not feel any force. That's a fundamental Newton's.
How does that change life?
So at some point, they had to actually accelerate to that point to reach that point.
Very good, Chocolate. Very good. Yes, exactly right.
I think we're at a moot point here because nothing's really being said here. What do we like? What changes? What changes now?
What I'm trying to ask Rumpus to think critically and tell me: can you really believe that human beings can survive traveling at 17,500 miles an hour?
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. And also a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!